In this class, let's start by animating the background. To get started, we can first hide everything on top of the background so that it's not distracting us. Let's go to the layers panel here. We don't need the handle, we don't need anything on top of the background. So after I select all these layers on top, I can toggle this eye icon here, turn it off. And now we only have the background and also this line here at the back and also the portfolio text. First, to start with something simple, let's start animating the position property of the portfolio text. To get animation started, we can click on the first portfolio, which is the last one, layer 12 here. Let's click on this drop-down menu here and then click on this arrow, transform. There are essentially 4 different basic values that you can animate within the layer. The first one is going to be position, and then there's scale, which controls the size of the layer and also the object. We have the rotation, and then we have the opacity, which is the transparency. It goes from 0% to 100%. For the position, it's very easy to understand. Right now, I have the selection tool selected, and then if I drag the position of this layer, you can see the position value is changing. So that's how we change the position. Let's go back, Command Z. If we want to change the scale, it goes from, right now it's 100%. We can change the scale to more than 100%, which is going to enlarge the object. It's going to make the object larger. I can change it to 200%. So that's going to make the text 200%. Let's go back to 100%. And then if we have the rotation, when we change the rotation value, we change it to a certain degree, like 25 degree. This object is going to rotate from the center of this anchor point here, where the anchor point is, it's going to rotate 25 degrees. If I put minus 25, negative 25, it's going to rotate the other way, 25 degree. So that's how we rotate the object. And one thing I need to point out is whenever we change the position, scale, and rotation, there's always a base point. It's based off of this anchor point in the center. If I zoom in, you can see this anchor point here. If you don't see this anchor point, it might mean the anchor point is not in the center. You can either zoom out and see where the anchor point is around your artboard. Another way you can center the anchor point is to right-click and then go to Transform, Center Anchor Point in Layer Content. This way it's going to put back your anchor point in the center of the layer. Right now, on the top toolbar here, there's a pen behind tool. This is an anchor point tool essentially. When you want to change the anchor point position, you need to select this tool, click on it, and then drag the anchor point to a place where you like it to be. Let's say if I have the anchor point at the bottom here, and then when I change the rotation, you can see the rotation is now based off of this anchor point at the bottom beneath the text. It's not in the center anymore. So right now the text is rotating around the anchor points. And if I change the scale property, you can see the text is also scaling based off the anchor points underneath over here. This anchor point is the point where these position, scale, and rotation value is based off of. Normally, we would have the anchor point in the center of the layer. So what we need to do is right-click and then go to Transform, Center Anchor Point in Layer Content. Now you can see this anchor point is centered. But we still need to go back to the original state. So I need to Command Z, make sure this portfolio is straight up. Like this. This is our original state. We already have the anchor point in the center. So that's the power of the anchor point. Once you are done with using the pen behind tool, the anchor point tool, you have to go back to the selection tool. Make sure your mouse cursor is always on the selection tool. That way you can navigate around the area, working space. It's not going to mess everything up. Now we have this. I already explained the position, scale, and rotation to you. And you can see this anchor point value here. We can also change the position of the anchor point by changing the value over here. There's a couple different ways to change it. This is one way, but it's also going to mess things up. So normally we would just keep the anchor point in the center of the comp. The last basic property we can animate is the opacity. Right now it's at 100%. We can change the opacity to, let's say, 40%. So the whole layer becomes transparent a little bit. And then if I change to 0%, it's going to be turned off. If I change it to 10%, you can see it slightly, but not very much. And I can just turn it on all the way to 100%, which makes this layer completely visible without any transparency. So that's the 4 different basic properties that we can animate within Adobe After Effects. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to animate these properties.